You filed the paperwork, you've secured the house, and now the beneficiaries, your brother, your sister, maybe your stepmom, are all asking the same questions. When do we get the money? They're looking at Zillow, they're mentally spending their inheritance, and they are pressuring you to move faster. But here's the hard truth. You're not on your own timeline. You're not on their timeline. You're on the court's timeline. I've had clients who expected this to be done in 6 months, and due to some mistakes they've made before hiring us, they were stuck in the system for 3 long years. Today, I'm going to break down the real timeline of a probate sale and why criminals get priority over your inheritance, and the story of how we helped 22 heirs in the Netherlands sell their home in the United States. Let's look at the legal reality. I was speaking with an attorney recently, and she explained to me something that blows people's mind. She calls it court triage. When the court shut down during COVID, a massive backlog was created. Here's the kicker. Under the Sixth Amendment of the US Constitution, criminals have a right to a speedy trial. Deceased people, they don't. So as the attorney puts it, criminals go to the front of the line. Civil probate cases, dead people who don't vote, they go to the back of the line. What does this mean for you? It means that getting a hearing date for your petition isn't going to happen next week. It may take 4, 5, or even 6 months out. At one point, Orange County was backlogged by 1,200 trials. If you missed a piece of paperwork, or if you forgot to publish the notice to creditors in the newspaper correctly, the judge doesn't just say, fix it tomorrow. You go back to the end of the line. That might be a 6-month delay that just became 12-month delay. To give you an example of how complex this can get, let me tell you a very, very complex case we handled with a top attorney. This wasn't a simple mom left the house to 2 kids situation probate. A young man lost both parents while he was in jail. He then is released and suddenly passed away unexpectedly in his late 30s. He had no will, no trust, no spouse, no children. When that happens, the law has to look for the closest living heirs. We get the call to assist with the real estate, but we couldn't just sell the house. First, the attorney had to hire genealogy experts to do a lot of work. Find the beneficiaries, find the heirs. This was done behind the scenes. They traced his lineage all the way back to the Netherlands and found 22 beneficiaries. Imagine this for a moment. 22 people in a foreign country. Every single one of them had to be formally notified. Every single one had the legal right to object. One objection would have stopped everything. Now, while the attorneys were doing the legal detective work, my team had a different responsibility. We had to protect the asset. This wasn't a mansion in Newport Coast. This was a South County property in severe condition due to long-term substance abuse and neglect. We had to secure the home. We had to bring hazmat for a cleanup, and we had to monitor it constantly while the court process dragged on. Without boots on the ground and proper oversight, that property would have been easy a target for squatters, vandalism, and every dollar of damage would have come straight out of the pockets of those 22 heirs. But we didn't just preserve the property. We evaluated it in an as-is condition versus repaired condition. We run the numbers, we discussed the options, and implemented a repair strategy designed to maximize value for those beneficiaries. The result was extraordinary. It became the highest sales price per square foot in the entire neighborhood by a significant margin. By the time we were ready to close, the attorneys had completed all court requirements, no beneficiaries objected, and 5 consents even arrived via international mail. It took longer than expected because of court procedures, but in this case, working with the right attorney, the right agent, and the right team made all the difference. The takeaway is simple. Never promise your family a payout date until the court has given you the green light. So what do you do while you're waiting for the court? You play the wait and hurry up game. Here's the checklist for the waiting period. Number 1, the inventory and appraisal. You cannot sell the house until the probate referee appraises it. This is a court-appointed appraiser. You don't get to choose them. You need to get this schedule immediately. The 15-day versus 14-day notice. If you're in probate with full authority, we have to send a notice of proposed action to all heirs 15 days before we close. And you have to account for mailing. So we normally count 17. If you're in trust, that's a 45-day notice of proposed action. Again, count for mailing. Sometimes there are beneficiaries who don't actually object. They just stay silent and passive-aggressive and force you to wait the full 45 days just to be difficult. Or maybe because they don't know they can send the consent right away. So you need to be proactive. You need to factor these buffer periods in your timeline and see how you can solve them or just wait. Number 3, manage expectations. Sit your family down, blame the system, tell them, Paula and the attorney told me that because of the court backlog, we're looking at 12 to 18 months. If we finish in 9 months, you look like a hero. If you promise 6 and it takes 12, you look like you're incompetent. The most common question I get is this: Paula, do we have to wait until the very end of probate to sell a house? The answer is no. We can sell the house during the probate process. Once we have the letters of administration and full authority, we can list it, market it, and accept an offer. However, if we don't have full authority, that's another question. The money from the sale does not go in your pocket. It goes into the estate's bank account. It sits there, protected, until the judge signs the final order to distribute the funds. So yes, we can convert the house to cash, but you can't go buy a car with that cash until the judge says so. Navigating this timeline requires patience, but more importantly, it requires a strategy to ensure you don't get sent to the back of the line. Next week, we're going to talk about you, the executor. We're going to discuss why some attorneys call this a thankless job and the specific liabilities that put a target on your back. I'm Paula Ragoni. If you want to see the roadmap of this timeline, download my probate timeline checklist below. It shows you exactly what happened month by month. See you next week.